You're watching Canadian Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. From Toronto, Ontario, I'm Catherine Bullock. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace. Today is the International Day for the right to the truth concerning gross human rights violations and for the dignity of victims. We have an interview with SERWI HUSEYIN from Justice for All about the UIGHUR Toolkit that she has been working on. But first, some news headlines. New Democratic Party expels MPP for his ties with Islamophobic Facebook group. A threat to all minorities. Canadian World Sikh Organisation condemns hijab ban. Report finds Facebook failed to detect hate against Rohingya. And Taliban announced another delay for girls' return to classrooms. And now, the details. Long-time Ontario MPP Paul Miller was cast out of the New Democratic Party, or NDP, last week after it was revealed he was part of an Islamophobic Facebook group. NDP Executive Director Lucy Watson said that Miller was an active member of the Worldwide Coalition Against Islam Facebook group, in addition to allegations that Miller harbored racist views. Miller denied the allegations yesterday, claiming that he does not write his Facebook posts. He said that the NDP's decision is a product of cancel culture. Party leader Andrea Horwath has revealed few details over the situation when Miller was kicked out last week. The World Sikh Organisation of Canada, or WSO, condemned an Indian High Court decision to uphold a discriminatory hijab ban. The ban introduced by Karnataka infringes religious freedoms and can negatively impact other minorities, including Sikhs, it said. WSO President Tajinder Singh Sidhu said that religious clothing was a personal choice and that forcing individuals to choose between their faith and education is unfair and unnecessary. The Indian Supreme Court has yet to set a specific date to review petitions against the High Court verdict, but cautioned those to refrain from sensationalizing the issue, according to media sources. A new report has found that Facebook failed to detect blatant hate speech and calls to violence against Burma's Rohingya Muslim minority. The report comes years after such behavior was found to have played a determining role in the genocide of Rohingya Muslims. Facebook allowed the rights group Global Witness to publish 8 paid advertisements, each including different versions of hate speech against Rohingya. The group pulled the ads before they were posted or paid for. Despite Facebook's promises to do better, its controls still failed to detect hate speech and calls for violence on its platform, the report says. Facebook had planned to hire Burmese speakers to moderate content and work with civil society groups to identify hate figures and combat hate speech. The Taliban shut down schools for girls above 6th grade yesterday, delaying their long-awaited return to classrooms in Afghanistan. Authorities said girls' high schools will remain closed until a plan is drawn up in accordance with Islamic law and Afghan culture, reported a state-run agency. The Taliban previously announced that all students would be able to return to school in the Afghan New Year, which passed on March 21st. This was on the condition that schools remain segregated. The UN has since expressed grave concern and disappointment as it considers education to be a fundamental human right. And that's it for the news. Today is the International Day for the right to the truth concerning gross human rights violations for the dignity of victims. We have with us today someone whose work definitely fits into this day, Sister SERWI HUSEYIN from Justice for All. Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Sister Kathy, for having me here on this program.
It's our pleasure. Now, I just mentioned this special day, which definitely fits what you're doing with the Save Uyghur campaign for Justice for All, but I confess I've never heard of it. Is it a day that holds any meaning for you?
I also have never heard about this day before, and today is the first time that I heard about it from you. And I think just it really resonates, this day really resonates with what we are doing as Save Uyghur campaign, and also on a personal level. Because at this moment, 3 of my family members have been arbitrarily detained by the Chinese government, and they're just freedom. Also, yeah, they don't have any freedom in there, and they are abused and tortured by the Chinese government. So such gross human rights violation committed by the China. So while we are speaking against the Chinese regime, so this day definitely resonates with me.
Well, we're very sorry to hear about what's happening to your family, and we pray that Allah keeps them safe, that God keeps them safe, and that your work can contribute to their safety. We're very sorry to hear that. We need to send a note to the United Nations, I guess, that they're not doing a very good marketing if someone like yourself hasn't heard of this day. Let's move on then. This week, President Biden's administration announced the recognition of the Rohingya as genocide. And I think Trump, before he left office, recognized what's China doing to Uyghur as genocide. How does the Biden administration's declaration this week about the Rohingya make you feel?
We Save Uyghur team, and also as an individual who is incarcerated by the ongoing genocide committed by China, really welcome the designation, the official recognition of the Rohingya genocide by the Biden administration. And at the same time, I also hope Biden administration will come up with solid steps to stop this Rohingya genocide. As you have said, that during the last presidency days of the Trump administration, U.S. states government declared what China has been doing to Uyghurs is a 21st century genocide. So if you look at what United States government did after the official designation of the Uyghur genocide, just very little things have been done. For example, these things have been done that I remember is one of the biggest thing is the inaction of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. And also United States government sanctioned some of the Chinese officials, the top ones who are responsible for committing the Uyghur genocide, a sanctioning of these top Chinese officials, and also some restrictions on the trade and some sanctions in certain degree. I don't think there have been just many solid steps have been taken to pressure China really hard to stop this the Uyghur genocide altogether. And
I don't know if you want to share this story, but how did you get to the US?
I left the occupied East Turkestan, where I was born and raised, which I call my home. Shortly afterwards, 2009 Urumqi massacre, in which thousands of Uyghur students were arbitrarily detained and imprisoned and killed. So at that time, the 2009 was the eye-opening moment for me, and I realized that living under the occupation of the Chinese government, such a brutal regime, doesn't provide any safety for my children, for my offsprings, and for my future. So I decided to leave, and I joined my husband, who was doing his master's in the United States. That's when I left. Actually, in 2010, 1 year later, the bloody massacre occurred in the capital city of East Turkestan, Urumqi city.
And now you're working on a Save Uyghur campaign for justice for all. Is it hard for you personally? How do you keep your spirits up?
Yeah, right now the world has already known that millions and millions of Uyghur people have been locked up in the concentration camps, and a lot of them have been already sentenced with a long-term imprisonment. For example, my brother-in-law Alam Sulaiman was sentenced with 17 years. Not only he was sent to the camp, he was actually sent to the prison. And also my nephew Ikram Yar Muhammad right now was having re-education in the camp. Actually, he's a college medical university university graduates. So while these my blood relatives, they are being sent to prisons and camps and deprived of their freedom, and while just millions of Uyghur people have been suffering inside the camps and the forced Uyghur factories, and there's no way for me to ignore their pain and enjoy my freedom in the States. So this is a motivation
Are
for
you
me.
able to contact them? Do they have cell phones? I mean, can you talk to them?
My connection was cut off at this moment, but it occurred just starting from the 2016. Several of my family members have been sent to the concentration camps and the prisons. Then my connection was cut off. But in 2019, in 2020, there was a short period when my mother passed away that my family members contacted with me, who it just only continued months. But afterwards, and with the beginning of my another brother-in-law, Asmat Bakhti, who is actually a professor, history professor in Xinjiang, military corporation division, the teachers college. Actually, he was sent to the camp, and right now just his whereabouts are unknown. That was the starting point that my family members last year in May, it happened to that history professor. That was the point that my family members decided not to talk to me at all, and then my connection was cut off. And my husband right now has been 6 years already not to talk to anybody in his family. This is not only my story, just many Uyghurs, almost every Uyghur, if you approach to them and ask the same question, they will answer the same answer. My connection was cut off. One or more of my family members were taken to the camp. Thank you.
That's very hard.
Yes, that's really hard.
You have patience and strength. So tell us then, what's the toolkit? What's the Save Uyghur toolkit you're working on?
Yes, actually, we would like to release our Uyghur Victim Family Toolkit today, and it's really, really exciting news for our team and for the Uyghurs in diaspora. It's actually a first ever comprehensive toolkit which provides effective strategies for the Uyghur diaspora to utilize for raising their voices when they're working towards the freedom of their family members. Because if you look at the title of our toolkit, it is like my family member was detained, now what? So actually I needed this toolkit 6 years ago when I first heard that my family members were taken. I didn't know what to do, and I was in desperate need of such resources. So I learned a lot of ways to raise my voice, which were highlighted in this toolkit during these all 6 years while I have been campaigning for and advocating for the freedom of my family members. So we came together with the idea to come up with such a toolkit for the Uyghur diaspora and encourage them to raise their voices. If they are silent because of the fear of the retaliation by the Chinese government, we would like to give them hope. And we shared the success story of the advocacy for the freedom of their family members.
Well, we're almost out of time. I do want to squeeze in one last question if I can. The Organization of Islamic Conference is meeting in Pakistan, and the Prime Minister Khan talked about Kashmir and Palestine being neglected by the world. What about the Uyghur? Why isn't the Organization of Islamic Cooperation doing more to help Uyghur?
Yes, I think the Islamic countries have been silent and also ignoring, even denying that such Uyghur genocide is happening inside the occupied East Turkestan, committed by the Chinese government, and they have been denying it. I think the utmost reason is clear to everybody because of the political and economic ties with the Chinese government. Because of the profit, because of all those ties and diplomatic relationship, they are ignoring the bleeding wound of the Muslim Ummah. They are ignoring it altogether. Actually, they are being in partnership with the Chinese, the crime, the Uyghur genocide, because ignoring it.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. I'm sorry to cut you off, but hopefully the work you do can bring it back to their attention. And we pray for you and commend you for your work. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Sister Cassie. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching Canadian Muslim News. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe and God bless.